StudyIQ IAS. अब तैयारी हुई अफोर्डेबल.
Hello dear students and welcome back to the World History MRP series. In today's session we are going to discuss the topic of the Great Depression. It's a relatively small topic but nevertheless is significant. So we will take a quick overview of it. Let us first understand what was the Great Depression. The Great Depression was a severe economic crisis that started out from USA and then spread to the rest of the world. USA suffered a big slump in its share market prices because of speculative kind of trading practices, and that sudden slump in USA's share prices in the stock markets, there was a panic in the economy leading to many other consequential effects, ultimately leading to a depression in the American economy. Now, what America suffered had an impact on the rest of the world because these were post-World War I years. Starting from 1929 to 1939, we will see the effect of this depression. In the post-World War I era, America was the beacon of hope for the whole world, particularly Europe. It was USA that was helping out war-torn countries of Europe to come out of their crisis. And when USA itself fell into this slump, there was nobody to help out European countries, and consequently the effect of it went to Europe. And when Europe started to feel the pinch, the pressure because of US economic depression, then their colonies, European colonies, also saw an impact of that, and thus this became largely a global phenomenon. It is therefore considered as the deepest and widest depression of the 20th century. One has to also understand the difference between recession and depression. Recession is more about the consecutive drop in the growth rate of the economy over multiple quarters. Some 3 quarters, if there is a consecutive drop in the growth rate, then it is called as a recession. Whereas depression is a much more deeper phenomena in which we are not just talking about fall in growth rate, we are talking about actually shrinking of the size of the economy. So in that sense, depression is a much more painful kind of an economic phenomena. All right, now let us go deeper and see what were the causes that led to this depression. How did it actually start? First and foremost, USA, being that capitalist kind of an economy, believed in a laissez-faire state, and therefore state had very limited role to play in the market. The stock markets particularly were very poorly regulated, and this led to different type of speculative practices in the stock market. These speculative practices finally had their effect, and we see that stock market of USA suffered a major crash in 1929. Because of this major crash in the stock market, the confidence in the American economy subsided. People started to lose hope and faith in the American economy. Because people were not hopeful about the future, they started to reduce their spending and investment. They started to hold back money because they were not sure as to what will be the future if they invest their hard-earned money during this particular phase. Nobody was sure how long this particular impact on the economy is going to last. Therefore, people started to hold back their spending and investment related decisions. These reductions in spending and investment related reductions led to a panic effect in the economy because there was less flow of money in the economy. Goods and services were not, people were not buying goods and services, and all of this led to people running to the banks to actually withdraw their money and keep it with themselves to have them safe. People had lost faith and trust in the banking system also. Now, since the banks saw an increasing number of people coming and withdrawing their money, there was a crunch that the banks also faced, and many banks actually collapsed because of this reason. Collapse of banks because of people running on the bank led to lack of credit to revive the economy. In these type of situations where there is recession or depression, there is need for expansion of monetary credit. But when the banks themselves are reeling under pressure, the state is left with no other option. And therefore, we see that many banks collapsed, leading to lack of credit, and this becoming a vicious cycle in itself. This economic inactivity was further more crucial because it was coming in the context of World War I's end. America, as I mentioned earlier, was helping out war-torn and shattered Europe, and therefore what happened in America naturally had an impact on the rest of the world also. In this context, elections were held in America in the early 1930s, and the great president of USA, FD Roosevelt, who will lead USA during World War II also, he became the president of USA in this period. Now, this period required naturally a person who could resolve this situation. Therefore, FD Roosevelt, in his poll campaign itself, had promised a new deal which will help America to come out of this crisis. This new deal was to be a series of programs, public work projects, financial reforms, and regulations which President Roosevelt enacted. Now, let us see them one by one. Series of programs, public work projects. As it happens in a capitalist economy, typically there are booms and busts. And whenever there is a bust, the state has to intervene over there and pump in money. Now, that money has to be pumped in through some major public projects. This is, Keynesian economics. Pump priming, as it is called. Your economics teachers must have surely taught you about this. The period from 1933 to 39 is a period where FD Roosevelt implemented many of these public programs and projects. The aim of these programs was to provide relief to people who were suffering because of the issue of the depression. Then reform the economy, because there were many gaps or loopholes in the functioning of the economy which had led to this crisis in the first place. Therefore, reforming the economy and recovery. Remember these 3 R's, they come in handy for generating points. Recovery, that is coming back to the earlier situation. 3 R's were the goal of this new deal. How did they go about this? Loans were lavishly given to states and local governments so that loan money could be used by the state and local government to generate some public works. And through those public works, employment could be generated. And that employment will lead to more spending. And more spending will lead to revival of economy. That is the concept of pump priming. Major projects such as Tennessee Valley Authority were also undertaken during this phase. Tennessee Valley Authority basically aims for the holistic development of the Tennessee Valley. Basically, this is a very important river valley in USA with potential of providing many different economic services. Tennessee Valley Authority was tasked with this purpose of exploiting the maximum potential by helping build up infrastructure along the valley. This is the same idea that we have used in Damodar Valley Corporation in India. Post-independence, the river Damodar, which was called as the sorrow of Bengal, because it used to flood almost annually. So, to avoid that situation, the DVC was created and it led to multiple benefits. Among other things, electricity or hydel power generation, tourism, fishing, transport, all of these things could be done. The original idea was over here in TVA, Tennessee Valley Authority. Then, since stock markets were poorly regulated and were speculative in nature, America reformed them by creating a regulating agency called as SEC, Securities and Exchange Corporation. This is the body which is parallel to our SEBI. In fact, we can say that SEBI is modeled similarly. SEBI created in 1992, USA did it in 1930s to ensure that the markets remain fair and do not indulge in speculation. The National Industrial Recovery Authority and Agricultural Adjustment Acts were passed so that industry and agriculture could also be given boost. Because of all of these steps and measures that President FD Roosevelt took, American economy revived, and by the time it was 1939, he took over in 1933, by the way. By the time it was 1939, American economy was back on track. It was up and running, and just before World War II, USA emerges as one of the strongest economies of the world. This was a crisis moment, and at that crisis moment, FD Roosevelt ensured the survival of USA. And that is why he went on to serve not 2 but 3 terms of presidentship, which is an exception in case of US history. There was a convention that president must hold only 2 terms because George Washington had done that, but it was a convention, not a law back then. Seeing the situation at that time of World War II, he also became he served a 3rd term as well. Later on, a law has been passed and now US presidentship can be held only for 2 terms. Earlier it was a convention. So this was a small topic, guys, of the Great Depression. I'll see you in my next lecture where we will discuss the interwar period, seeing the rise of Hitler and Mussolini. Thank you.
StudyIQ IAS. अब तैयारी हुई अफोर्डेबल।